Welcome back to another avatar tutorial for Jump Force. Today we are going to be creating Android 18 from the Dragon Ball series. Firstly, we're going to walk through how to create and customize his character, as well as going through the entire moveset that I use, as well as alternate options if you want to change anything. All of that up next. So why did I choose to create Android 18? I was simply thinking of characters who would be easy enough to recreate in Jump Force, as well as characters that I like, and Android 18 was one of the most logical choices. I don't know where she ranks on my favourite characters list, but she's definitely up there. Hands down my favourite Android and favourite female character from the series. And yeah, since Android 18's customization is mostly already in Jump Force, I thought it should be a nice and easy character to make. To begin with, I went with a female Type B fighter. You would think that Type A is the best choice here since that's applicable to most Dragon Ball characters. That being said, I like the way that Type B utilises its kicks, which Android 18 uses a lot of, but Type A is still an option if you prefer that. Next, I'm going to walk through all of the customization options, such as the body, hair, eyes, etc, but I will return once that's all done to talk about the outfit and the moveset. See you soon. Android 18 turned out as expected, and that's because her outfit is already in Jump Force, so that's always convenient. We'll get a bit more variety when we get onto the moveset, but firstly let's check out where you can get this outfit. So most of the items you will need are found in the main lobby at the general store. For the top, you'll want jacket number 1, and for the bottoms you'll want mini skirt number 2. Then for the feet, go with boots number 7, the brown coloured ones. You'll already have the tights unlocked, so make sure to find those in the character customization menu. This last item is an optional ear accessory. Whilst Android 18 does wear a small earring, this item simply isn't in Jump Force, so you'll have to compromise, but only if you want to. Go to the Dragon Ball Z store, this is Team Alpha's store, and find ear accessory number 1. Again, this is a completely optional clothing piece, since the original isn't in the game. I think one of the great things about creating Dragon Ball characters in Jump Force is that you usually get a lot of variety in the abilities you want to use. It's not necessarily hard to create a moveset that makes sense, so I've got plenty of moves you can use for Android 18 depending on the playstyle that you want, whether it's long range, close range, or a balance of the two. For Android 18's first ability, I gave her Diable Jambe Mutton Shot from Sanji's moveset. This is mostly personal preference since there's plenty of other options that make more sense overall. I went with this because it's a multi-hitting kick attack and reminds me of her Deadly Dance attack from Dragon Ball Xenoverse. For alternate options, I would recommend 6 Powers Finger Pistol for a close range attack with the instant transmission. For a ranged attack, you could go with Death Beam from Frieza's moveset, or even Gallic Gun from Vegeta's moveset with a light element attached as well. For Android 18's second ability, I went with Destructo Disc. Reasoning should be obvious, this is a fairly iconic ability. Whilst it's arguably more iconic for Krillin, Android 18 definitely makes use of this ability. For alternate options, I would suggest going with Death Saucer from Frieza's moveset to act like dual Destructo Disc. You can also go with Energy Blast Volley from Vegeta's moveset to act like a generic Ki Blast Barrage. For Android 18's third ability, I went with Spirit Breaker from Vegeta's moveset. I wanted to get a cinematic dash attack in there somewhere, and I liked Spirit Breaker for its use of a kick. It's also great for combos, it combos nicely with Gallic Gun if you went for that option from before. For alternate options, Perfect Attack from Cell's moveset gives you a similar ability with a different cinematic. Also I like You Think You're Invincible from Togoro's moveset, because of the way it incorporates a grab, so I highly recommend this ability as well. Also you could go with Perfect Barrier from Cell's moveset with a wind element attached. This could be a generic Ki explosive wave, but also acts like the Android barrier, so I also like this option. Ultimately, however, I went for a more offensive moveset, and for Android 18's Awaken ability, I went with Heat Dome attack from Trunks' moveset. This is meant to be like high pressure energy wave. Final Flash from Vegeta's moveset is probably a more accurate choice, however the way that Heat Dome attack fires vertically reminds me of her super in Dragon Ball FighterZ. Additionally, I really like the cinematics in Heat Dome attack, especially with the way she grabs the opponent, once again incorporating a grab into the moveset. I hope you've enjoyed this avatar tutorial. I'm happy with how Android 18 turned out in the end. I think the one thing that I didn't like was having to choose between different moves. There were so many options I wanted to use for different reasons, but I could only choose 3 main abilities, so that's what I went for. Visually, she looks perfectly fine because the outfit is spot on. I'm also really happy that I went with the Type B fighting style rather than Type A, despite Type A being my first choice. I made this avatar tutorial trailer video outlining the next 4 characters that I'll be making. Naturally, Android 18 was the first among those 4 characters, so check that out if you want to see who I'm making next. If you want it to be a surprise, then I won't spoil it here, but just know that I already have plans for the next 3 avatar tutorials after this one. Anyway, that's all I have for today's avatar tutorial. Please enjoy this short gameplay montage for Android 18, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.